Hey everybody in the reggae universe, welcome to a conversation in dub hosted by me, Mark Ramondi.
And me, James Pasqua. This podcast is all about exploring the massive world of reggae and dub music, from its roots in Jamaica to its influence on various music genres worldwide.
This podcast also explores the intricacies of dub through insightful conversations, interviews with artists, and in-depth analysis of iconic tracks. We don't just talk about the music, but also the stories behind it, the techniques used in its production, and the social and political context that shaped its development.
Our goal is to promote mindful listening, taking you, the listener, on the journey the artist intended. Through this process, we hope to introduce you to new music or give you a new insight on music you already know and love.
This podcast is brought to you by Rootfire, a platform for reggae music worldwide with a mission to empower artists and nurture the community that supports them. You're here because you love reggae music and want to be a part of that community. We're here to help connect the dots.
If you have any feedback for us, be sure to email us at aconversationindub@gmail.com or message us on Facebook or Instagram at aconversationindub. We love hearing from you. Now,
let's get to the show. How you doing, bro?
Happy New Year!
Happy New Year, man. It is 2025. We are ringing in the new year with another new episode, and I'm super happy to see you and super happy to do this today, man. How was your New Year's? How was your holidays?
It was pretty low-key. Made some steaks. Saw the fireworks from a distance on the strip, so that's
very nice.
That's good. I don't want to be anywhere near there, usually ever.
No, not at all. I mean, same here. It was kind of low key, but we were traveling all over the place. We did a Christmas in South Carolina this year, which was amazing. I thought it was going to be weird, like kind of where you're at, where it's like, you know, everybody's in short sleeve shirts and shorts and Christmas lights. But man, I loved it. It was one of my favorite Christmases that I've had. It was perfect.
Would you rather it be bitter cold and snowing?
Well, I think that was the big culture shock of getting back here, because I got so used to like waking up and walking the dog and just like a sweatshirt and just like hanging out in the middle of December, and then coming back to New Jersey and being like, we're not leaving the house and the heat's going on full blast and we're doing nothing because we now have to hibernate until it starts to get warm again.
Horrible.
So it's definitely a little bit of an adjustment, but I'm super, super excited about 2025, my friend. How about you?
Oh, yeah. I got some new music in the works, so... Everyone out there, be on the lookout for some details. Dropping new stuff this year. I'm doing it.
That's exciting. We got big goals and big updates for both of us this year too, and especially big updates and big things with the podcast that we're going to be getting into this year, and hopefully some awesome new conversations that we get to dive into. But we'll get into that with the episode as well, man. Let's break it down. Let's talk a little bit about what we're listening to today, bro.
We are listening to probably the catchiest reggae song of all time.
Yep.
Steppin Out, Steel Pulse, 1984. This is one of those songs where I recommended we do this song this morning to you, and
Yep.
I didn't even listen to the song, and it was already stuck in my head. Like instantly.
It's so funny you said that, because that's exactly what I was going to say to you. I was literally doing shopping when you texted me that, and I've literally just been humming it ever since you texted it to me. So I was like, yeah, this is fine. This is definitely what's happening.
Oh, yeah. So let's get into it. You can find Steppin Out on any streaming platform. You can find it on YouTube. If you have the album, play that. Why don't you? We'll be right back. Steppin Out, Steel Pulse, 1984, off the Earth Crisis album.
Oh man, I'm just laughing, man. I love this.
That'll be in our heads all day.
Yeah,
all day.
Oh my god! And not only like that's the cool thing about a track like this that gets stuck in your head. You're also gonna get stuck on loop playing this. Like I know driving back to work tomorrow to go teach, I'm gonna put this on, and listen to it again, because you have to.
And the thing is, his vocals stuck in my head. The bass line stuck in my head. The horn line stuck in my head. The drum beat stuck in my head. Like all of it at different levels.
You know what rocks me about this? This is so like cinematically wonderful.
Oh yeah.
As a piece. It is orchestrated in a way that is so unbelievably ahead of its time. But we'll touch on, like, this could have come out when the 80s, it could come out tomorrow, it could come out 10 years from now, and I'd be like, what is this? You know what I mean? Like, that's just, it's kind of timeless sense of innovation.
Ooh,
It's kind of what's happening through that.
yeah. It's evergreen.
And like that's what I get, you know? And like that's such an interesting place to be. It's such an interesting hole to fill, because it doesn't matter when this would come out. You would understand and hear progressive elements of this that artists now can't even do as well, even though they've been able to have this as such a cornerstone to look up to. And when I say cinematically wonderful, I think of like the same kind of like cinematics we hear from like a new Holly Cook album, where we have songs like Golden Hour, where like there's just so many levels and layers and parts and places it goes to that you don't think it's going to go, but it's it's a very different level. You know, I feel like now artists do that in terms of form, but we have Steel Pulse doing this in terms of orchestration, and then understanding which elements and which instruments need to kind of really shine through, and then when to back away and when to accentuate, like exactly like what you were saying, how everything is stuck in your head, like the moments where the bass line is identically following the lyrics.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
But the melody and the bass line are coming in to still be, it's very still percussive, so that the second that percussiveness is done, the bass kind of levels right back into a really steady filler that happens in between those melodic lines. It's so cool. And I find the vocals doing that same exact thing too, where you have these moments where the vocals are acting as a percussive element, and then they stop being as percussive, and it's a beautiful melodic line, and then it stops being just an intricate melodic line to just a steady wave of texture. And then at every moment it's doing one of those three things, the other instruments are filling the gap. When my vocals are laying my texture and the bass is steady, you have the horns come through that are just wiling out, you know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like it just folds together so wonderfully.
It's like the definition of intention.
Oh
Everything
my God,
is
absolutely.
done with it. Like everything
Absolutely.
was thought
but
out,
to hear
planned
this,
out.
it's so genius.
Yeah, and David Hines is a genius in my mind.
Yes.
I mean,
I'd agree.
his
Absolutely
voice is like none other. Like, you cannot replicate that voice. It is
No.
Steel Pulse 100%. And those harmonies that everybody's doing just adds to it so much.
It does.
And I don't think the chords even change. If they do, it's subtle.
Very subtle. You're absolutely right. See, that is the perfect example of talking about what that level of orchestration and intention can do to a chord progression. You know, you think of a chord progression as so one-dimensional because it's just so monotonous. There's nothing monotonous about this track. Not a single thing monotonous about it, which is so exciting.
I mean, the bass line changes through the sections.
Yep.
And the rhythm changes. There's things added. There's things taken away. But I don't think the chords really change, right?
No, you're absolutely right. It's just playing a difference on that chord progression, and I love how they do it. Like we talk about intention, we talk about chemistry a lot here on this podcast too, and like you talk about the chemistry that the instrumentalists and the vocal, this just Steel Pulse in general is what makes Steel Pulse Steel Pulse. You know, like we are sitting here on two completely different parts of the US doing a podcast, listening to this song, and you could feel the energy of this band through that track. Imagine that happening in front of you and what you'd feel. If I felt that energy here, I can't even imagine what kind of energy these guys produce live.
Go see Steel Pulse. They just played New York for New Year's.
I know. They were right here. It's so crazy. Like, guys, this is like legendary stuff that's still happening in the world. I mean, this came out in the 80s, which you can totally hear. And like, that's so crazy too, because for me, like 80s reggae, I'm like, cool, it's good. It's never like my go-to, like I'm going to wake up and listen to this, because like, it's just like the timbres and things too. That's just like, okay. But the way this is done, like this is just one of those steady ones. It's always on a playlist. If I make a playlist, it's always there. I always get excited when I hear that introduction. I love the intro to this track. I think it is so cool. You know, it's amazing. It's just so well done.
Well, let's be clear on 80s reggae, because for me, the 80s before this is my go-to, Channel 1 days in Jamaica. That's like everything that I listen to. Now, Steel Pulse, obviously from England, so they already have a different vibe. While they are Jamaicans living in England, it's different. Like
Absolutely.
the bands out there that were doing the same thing, like Aswad and others. They
Hmm.
all have that kind of extra progressiveness about them. There's
Yes,
something different than Jamaican music. They're taking it to a different level, which is super cool. But I was
absolutely.
gonna say this came out in '84, and while I was thinking about this before doing the episode, I feel like this is one of the last great reggae albums before reggae went super digital, super dancehall. Late
Yep.
'80s, '90s,
Yep.
all that stuff
Because
is
that's
super
what I
different.
associate with like 80s reggae. I think it's just like that sound of like mid to late 80s reggae where it is super digital. It is that super, it's like that to me. It's kind of like, okay, but I would have to absolutely agree with you. But I also think this is kind of the perfect marriage of the change of course for where reggae is going, because I feel like it's got just a nice digital sprinkling to understand where it is and where it fits into the timeline, but just enough kind of roots underneath it to make it sound like, whoa, this is awesome. This is a sound that I feel like bands were kind of coming back to after the whole digital age. It's kind of like like there's like that transition in and out of that a little bit, which you
Yeah,
kind of get. You get those sweet pockets. This is that sweet pocket.
yeah. They left it here for us, and 40 years later, here we are talking about it.
So crazy. Oh my god, 40 years.
This
That's
came out,
insane.
well, now 41 years ago almost.
Wow. That makes me feel old, but something crazy. But it's definitely timeless. I mean, I love tracks like this, and I love that we're able to kind of bring a classic to everybody today too. James and I we were just talking about how this is not something you guys have heard, and this is the first time you're hearing it. First of all, we're honored to be able to bring this to you because it's, especially if Steel Pulse. I mean, I know we've mentioned Steel Pulse on this podcast,
Oh
and
yeah,
we've
we've done
featured them before. And
Handsworth Revolution, I think,
exactly,
years
exactly.
ago.
So like if you guys have, but so this is probably not your first time hearing Steel Pulse, but if it is and you're a new listener, oh my God. Yeah, stop everything you're doing, quit, cancel your plans for the rest of the day. You have things to do. Because that's how long this is going to take basically to go down that rabbit hole. But this is such a staple, I feel like, in reggae history, and in terms of just talking about the different twists and turns this genre takes. You can't not talk about this track. You can't not talk about Steel Pulse in the conversation of innovation when it comes to this genre.
Yeah, I mean this whole album too. I mean, this whole
Yep.
album sounds like that. If you like that song,
Yep.
listen to the rest of it. Roller skates, tightrope. I mean, it's all just heavy hitting, progressive, futuristic roots reggae from the
Oh
80s.
yeah.
I mean,
This
come
is
on.
just scratching the surface.
Yeah, can't get enough of that.
No.
Also,
But it
best line I think ever on the planet Dread. It rains dub.
Yep, I'd have to
Come on.
absolutely agree with that. I'd have to absolutely, like, if that's not on a shirt somewhere, it should be.
Feel like we should make them.
You know what? Absolutely. Yeah, all proceeds go to Steel Pulse. That'd be great. I would love that because that is absolutely epic and so cool. And again, I mean, it just speaks to the band's creativity. And we talk about innovation. Like, they're throwing things at you that are innovative on every level. It's not just the instrumentalization and orchestration of the instruments. It's the innovation of the lyrics, the lyricism that's behind this, the melodic lines. Like every single thing that this hits you with is something that's a taste you recognize, but with a different flavor you might be super interested in because it might not be your typical sound or what you're typically used to. And again, I think a lot of that comes down to, like, we talk about location. We talk about how different the types of reggae is when it's all over the world.
Mm.
And that influence and what that has on it, where you really get a sprinkling of something from each place that makes it super unique. And Steel Pulse absolutely has that, but their own little idea of what innovation looks like from them as well, which is crazy.
Yeah, and the album itself is revolves around the Earth crisis and world leaders and this and that, and unfortunately, this was 41 years ago. This could come out now, exactly the same.
Yep. Yep. Its relevance still stands, which it's a lot to be
I
said
mean, they
about
they
that.
could re-release this and just put different figures on the album cover, and it's the same.
It's true. It's very true. But again, like, that's what makes stuff like this absolutely timeless. And
Unfortunately.
I know, I know. But that, I mean, for me, like, I'm super excited to kind of like do this episode and listen to Steel Pulse because this kind of puts them back on the radar for me with like different things that I want to listen through and like different goals that I think we each have for the new year. And, this is just something to throw out there for everybody too. I know everybody, like for me personally, when it comes to like setting goals for the new year, I always categorize my goals. I do set them. I don't believe really in New Year's resolutions, but like I set goals and I check in with them, and it's always the same. Like your finances, your fitness, your work, your relationships, your fun. Like if you want to travel, but what I encourage everybody out there to do who's listening to this, set some listening goals this year. Like if there's certain genres of or certain branches of reggae that you're interested in, like set some goals of things that you want to dive into to get to know yourself and your own interests a little bit more this year. And hopefully on this podcast, we'll be able to assist with that, throwing some different artists at you as we go through the year as well.
I like it. I'm doing that now myself. Actually, I'm getting into the earlier side of things now that I'm playing more rocksteady ska stuff. I'm
Yep.
diving into Jamaica from like 67 to 70. Where
Wow.
like, yeah, I've heard a lot of these songs, but I never really paid that much attention to it, and I never really knew the players and all that stuff. And now I'm getting into it. So you might start seeing, us feature songs from that era and
I
have a
would
lot to
love that.
say
And like
about it.
what I would love too is everybody who's listening, share with us what some of your listening goals are, because if we can help that and we can maybe kind of feature, hey, this is someone's goal listen to right here that we're going to feature and break down a little bit to kind of help you get a little bit more background with it. That would be wonderful. It'd be something that we can always kind of do and interact with this time of year in January. And maybe we'll be able to even come out with an episode where we talk and discuss a little bit more about what our own listening goals are too as we get into January, because it's beautiful things to check in with. I try to all the goals I said, I try to check in with them at least once a month, because if I don't, you won't, you'll do half of them and then realize 3 months go by and you're like, where all those goals go. So
Write
like
them
this can
down.
be something that we check in with a little bit throughout the year, just to kind of help you guys with your listening goals and also help us branch out and do some different things too, which should be really fun.
Put them on the whiteboard.
Yep. So definitely, guys, reach out and share with us, what do you want to hear this year from just not only just in a conversation in dub, but on your own. Like, what are you diving into? And if it doesn't have to do with reggae, still share it. If there's different things that you're kind of getting into and dabbling with, we love hearing from you guys. So definitely fill us in and make sure that you set some time to set those goals this year, because it's important. Taking care of yourself, leaning into your interests. That's all. And it kind of all falls under that category of self-care with how important that is.
I would say so. And we don't
Absolutely.
just listen to reggae. So yeah, reach out, Instagram, email us,
Yeah.
conversationindub@gmail. Hit us up.
Yeah, we're not hard to find.
Maybe in person.
Maybe in person, yeah, but it's hard for us to even find each other in person.
That's
But yeah,
true.
it's definitely another goal this year too, which is exciting. We'll be able to actually spend some time together and maybe be able to do some episodes or do some like maybe Facebook lives or some stuff when we're in person, because we got my wedding coming up in June, so we'll have plenty of
Oh.
occasions for that.
Oh, Mark's wedding, June.
Yeah. It's kind
Let's
of
get
crazy.
it.
So we got big things coming up. This is a very big year for everybody, which is awesome. And I don't know if you guys know out there too, James is actually going to be my best man, which is going to be awesome. Get him all the way over here on the East Coast for a little bit of an extended time. So it's going to be
Best man in dub.
Best man in dub. Absolutely, brother. So, yeah, guys, as you could tell, I mean, with all that on the horizon, we got goals flowing like crazy. And now it's going to be a time to kind of chill out and listen to some reggae music more now than ever, just to kind of get that mind centered and get things nice and focused, because we know that, I mean, that's where we're at. That's what we're needing right now.
Let's get it. Steel Pulse.
Absolutely.
Guys, check out Steel Pulse. Go see them. They are still touring actively. They have
Yes.
a ton of music. Go listen to all of it. It's all good.
Totally worth it. It truly is. Can't say enough good things about Steel Pulse. And I know that down the line, we're probably going to be featuring them again at some angle with what we're doing here on the podcast too. And hopefully would love to be able to have them on at some point and discuss some stuff, because talk about one of those like dream conversations that we'd be able to have to kind of pick the brains of some true reggae geniuses and people who really kind of help pave the way for new musicians and new artists. And
That would be fantastic.
love it. So yeah, it's just definitely something that we'll be able to hopefully dabble with. So Steel Pulse, if you're listening out there, reach out. Let us know what you think of the episode, and we'd love to be able to pick your brain and have that conversation one of these days. Because Lord knows it's a wealth of knowledge that I think everybody out there, especially any fan of this genre, would be able to pick something and learn something from that. So grateful for all that you guys do and everything that you do share with us to be able to then share with the world and get out there, because it's amazing stuff.
That would be such an honor to have Steel Pulse on here.
Yeah, I'd lose it. That'd be really cool. But you know what? We're putting it out there in the universe, right? Manifesting's as good as goal setting for 2025. So we might as well throw out all that out there too and see what sticks.
Let's do it.
Absolutely. Well, everybody out there, I hope you guys have a very happy and healthy start to your new year, right? Spend some time with loved ones, set your goals, and listen to your dub, because as long as you do, makes things a lot better, makes things a lot easier. So please, everybody out there, remember,
keep dubbing.
Keep dubbing.
Thanks for listening to A Conversation in Dub, hosted by James Pasqua and Mark Raimondi. Conversation in Dub is brought to you by Rootfire, a platform for reggae music worldwide with a mission to empower artists and nurture the community that supports them. You're here because you love reggae music and want to be a part of that community? We're here to help you connect the dots.
This show is produced and edited by James Pasqua. Our theme music is an original composition called Keep Dubbing by James Pasqua and Mark Raimondi. If you want to hear previous episodes containing full songs, you can find them all on Spotify. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook at A Conversation in Dub. And if you have any feedback, requests, or just want to talk about music, reach out there or email us at aconversationindub@gmail.com. Make sure to rate us on your podcast platform of choice. And as always, keep dubbing.